So, what did I learn during this process? Number one, I would say, is don't contaminate your rice. So, whenever you're setting it out to dry or when you're putting it into the tarp, don't scrape out the canoe and add that rice to the tarp because you can get some pebbles in there that have managed to find their way into the canoe. So, just make sure that you keep the rice clean the whole time as best you can. Number two probably would be to make sure you put the rice out just after harvesting it and pick out all the worms and let it start drying right away so that those worms don't eat the rice that you've got. I see in ours there's a little bit of evidence of some of the worms eating the rice. So when you go through all that effort, you hate to lose part of your rice. When you are drying the rice, make sure that you stake the tarp very well. There was a gust of wind that came up and kind of blew some of the rice away, and then you got to either pick it up, which you can contaminate it then, so that's probably not a good idea, or you just have lost some rice. Make sure that you do let it sit for 2 to 3 days so that it can ripen, so that you get nice dark rice. As far as the push pole goes, ours was probably a little bit beefier than needed, so I'm planning to trim that down to make it not as large of diameter at the forked end. That should make it a little less of an effort on the puller as you're going through. And the other thing was I was trying to break the hulls free from the rice, just using 1 foot for a while before I had a bucket to get both feet in there and extra weight on it, and it really did seem to make a difference to get both feet going. You can do twice as much work, and it's easier to keep your balance and do it that way. So, try and do that. The other thing is, it is a lot of work to process the rice, so I'm going to have to think about how to process larger quantities in the future, because what I've got now is just doing it all more the traditional way. It's all manual and it's a lot of work, so I'm going to try and come up with a better way to hull the rice, and maybe try and find a bigger pot for parching so that it doesn't take quite so long and I can do larger batches. I guess in my processing, I found that about 1 hour of harvest time equated to about 10 hours roughly of processing time. So that gets back to getting a bigger pot to parch in and finding a way to hull faster, because those are the two areas. It seemed like you can speed up quite a bit. Picking through the rice is, you got to pick through the rice. There's probably not much of a way to automate that, but the parching, if you can do a little larger batches, and the breaking the hulls free, seems like those could be sped up quite a bit. Winnowing the rice, I just used the fan, so that was pretty quick. It's probably about the only part that I really tried to automate in this process.